mean,
it's like you and Joe Dirt at the time, and that's it.
Yeah, people would say, "Oh, you're Joe Dirt." I'm like, "No, I'm not Joe Dirt. I'm Joe Bob McGillis. I worked down at the Bob Boyd car dealership. Chance you ever in an 80-mile car? I worked on it. Hell yeah. You need new white wall tires? Come on down. I'll set you up."
Millie makes songs, hey, I made this one. Jerry builds bikes and they go real fast. They're mental defectives.
Welcome to the Mental Defectives Podcast, a show where we interview interesting individuals with a focus on addiction and mental health. I'm your host, Milligram. That's Millie if you know me, Mr. Graham if you know me. Joined, as always, by the Home Depot of Harleys, the gearhead with the heart of gold. It's Mr. Jerry with a G.
Glad to be here.
And today...
Hold on. You should hit that like and subscribe button if you dig what we do.
Mental Defectives Podcast on all your social media, because that's where we is, Mental Defectives Podcast, because today we have a very special guest. He's a sober father and union man, the mullet on a mountain bike. He's got 1,000 aliases, and he's been elevated above alcohol. Please welcome Mr. Joe Bob McGillis. Joe, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. Thank you for coming on, dude. I appreciate it. Joe, where are you from?
I am from Gloucester, Ohio.
Where the fuck is that?
That is a small town in southeast Ohio, and when I tell people it's a small town, a football coal mine town, because it used to be big back when the coal mines were in, and then now you go there on Friday nights, everybody's at the football games, and that's kind of what people treasure there is football, sports, rather than, education's education, but it's not very good there.
Football is religion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, basically, your higher power.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then Joe, when was your first drink?
First drink, I would say in the 5th grade. So I would say in the 5th grade. I had an older brother and sister. So they were in high school when I started middle school. So everything they did, I wanted to be part of, even though I wasn't fully a participant. I would clean up or stay there until I had to be home. You know what I mean? And so 5th grade, camping out in the backyard, some reason some old guy would buy me and my friends alcohol. He was like a 40-year-old, and he would drop it off in the woods, and we would pick it up. We'd just give him a couple extra dollars. Crazy to me. Yeah. I see kids now, I'm like, what the hell?
Oh, yeah.
That's insane.
Absolutely insane.
I don't know. I feel like you could catch a charge doing that really quickly.
Dude, if some high school kids rolled up on me and were like, hey, mister, can you
that.
buy us a case of beer? Middle school kids.
5th grade.
No way. No fucking way.
I mean,
no way.
He knew one of the kids. He helped his dad watch him and stuff when his dad was away for work.
Yeah.
So he kind of lived with that guy for a while, and he would just, if he knew we were going to be somewhere where we weren't going to be doing anything, he would drop it off for us.
Yeah.
He'd be like, all right, you guys have fun. Or if he buys Mad Dog 2020, he'd be like, oh, you boys drinking that crazy juice again, you run up getting in a fight.
Yeah.
And every time we did.
Right. Yeah.
And then what about the first drunk? Was this also...
That's all part of it, I guess.
Okay.
It's all the same.
I mean, it's not like I'm just going to drink one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we would get drunk till we threw up. And then, if we didn't have it, we would steal it.
Yeah.
From the grocery store. I remember one time when it was snowing out, and I just thought the other day, me and 4 friends went into the small Kroger's in a small town, and one of them stole it. They stuffed it down. It was really snowy out, so everybody had bibs on. Stuffed it down with bibs, and it was very unorganized. A kid came in and said, hey, Jimmy, your mom's looking for you. You need to be home. Let's go. And they hurried up and took off running. And then I just walked casually out, and they're all the employees are like, oh, did they steal something? I'm like, oh. They tossed it in the snow, and me being the good alcoholic I am, I went and found that and then drank it.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Threw up and got caught by my mom.
Oops.
And then where did drinking take you from there? If it was like a 5th, 6th, 7th grader, are we hitting it on the weekends? Is it once a month? Is it all the time?
Yeah, it's weekends in middle school. And then, I found drugs probably in the 7th grade. My friend had broken his ankle, and we didn't know what pills were.
No.
We didn't know what anything was.
Right.
And then when we found out that he had Percocets, we were like, oh, those are something that get you fucked up. And we drank them with Colonial Club vodka.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember we took a couple each. We didn't take a bunch of them. We took a couple each, which is a lot for 7th grader.
Yes.
That's a shit
yeah,
ton.
and had never
Yes.
for the first time, yeah.
So I had about a half bottle of Colonial Club vodka, which is $4.20. I still remember how much it was. It was $4.25 a bottle, 42 proof. And my friend Mark and I left that kid's house. It was after school. We left that kid's house, walked over the hill to my house, and I fell down in my yard. It's a pretty big yard. I fell down my yard and started throwing up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get it together, pop up, go to the house. My mom's like, "Hey, you boys want to go to Bob Evans?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that sounds good."
Actually, I'm starving all of a sudden. I haven't eaten in forever.
Right.
And my friend Mark goes along with it. So we get in the back of the car, and my brother's in the front seat. My mom looks at my brother and goes, "Robbie, have you been drinking?" We are back there wasted.
Yeah.
But I mean, who would think that of
Right.
a 7th grader?
Yeah.
I look at him now, and it blows my mind.
You're a little kid. Little kid.
I couldn't understand why at like 15 my parents weren't cool with me like drinking and smoking weed. It's like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're a little kid. Like, it's so,
Yeah.
it's, oh my God. Okay, so where do we pick up from there? Like when you get into high school and stuff, are you maintaining like drinking and
Oh, pretty much every day.
every day from the get go?
Yeah, freshman. I mean, I'm hanging out with all my brother's friends who are in college.
Right.
Makes sense.
So I go to their houses. I hang out with them. I don't really hang out with my friends. I mean, we play sports together and stuff, but we don't really hang out just to hang out. I mean, after games and stuff, I might stay at their house, and I'm good then. I don't really mess around. But I'm always looking for alcohol. It's always on my mind. I'm mentally obsessed with it all the time. So that's what got me, is just that every day waking up like, how can I get more? What can I do to take me out of myself? What's going to make me feel comfortable around people? Why am I better when I drink? I really wasn't. My friend Jimmy and I didn't know how to tap a keg. In his basement, his mom's boyfriend had a keg down there. This is in 7th, 8th grade, before a basketball game. We finally figured out how to tap it. It was all foamy and stuff, and we drank about 5 cups each, maybe 5, around that. He went and made 20 points in that game. I had like 6. Drunk.
Yeah.
7th grade. Wild.
Yeah.
Just reeking of booze up and down the court.
Oh my
like
God.
there's no way you're sweating
Coming out of your
like,
pores.
We were
like-
trying to tap that keg, and it was so funny because it was spraying in our faces, and we couldn't figure out how to do it because you push it and lock it.
Yeah.
And we was just pushing it down. We're like,
And
why
go right-
would it do this? Spraying all in us
Yeah.
on us. Dude. We figured it out, though.
Yeah.
There's a will, there's a way.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
Especially when it comes to me getting, drunk or
Oh,
high. when that's-
100%.
Oh, that is not going to stop me.
But that's the house we'd go to when we want to go smoke cigarettes. You know what I mean? Because his mom smoked, so she didn't smell them. We'd be up in his room just smoking cigarettes, playing Twisted Metal on PlayStation.
Oh,
Hell yes.
hell yes.
Hell yes.
Oh, dude, I used to fuck up some Twisted Metal.
Dude, I had an N64, and my friends would come over. We'd smoke in the garage, and because you couldn't smoke in my house, we'd smoke in my garage, and we'd had 4-player set up of James Bond, and we'd all play. that.
Oh, that's
we'd hit
that's
the gravity,
it.
and then go over there and play James Bond.
Yep. That's it.
Like GoldenEye.
Yeah, so smoking and drinking was just part of my high school life. And I look at it now like, back then it was kind of thought of that's what you do when you get older. When we watched MTV and stuff, it was all real road and road rules where that's all they did.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of recovery talk. There's a lot of stuff like that for kids growing up.
Yeah.
But before it was, hey, when you're in college, you drink.
Yep.
It was just highlighted that, you'd heard people that were alcoholics and stuff, but it just really wasn't a thing that a lot of people did. You'd have to lose it all to become an alcoholic. You couldn't just say, hey, my life's going down a bad path and then change things up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really what I see as a benefit to kids these days, that they have that a lot of cool people, quote, a lot of people that are doing good things in their life consider themselves alcoholics and are doing better and trying not to drink.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so then what's like the rest of high school look like? Are you getting any kind of like consequences from drinking and smoking at this point, or just...
Yeah, well, freshman and sophomore year, and I'm playing sports. I'm doing good. I'm doing good in school, and then my sophomore to junior year is when it all kind of unraveled because I was in a car wreck where I was a passenger, and we were going State Highway Patrol estimated 76.25 miles an hour. The road should be traveled 35. Went off one side of the road, came across, hit a metal culvert, car did one flip in the air, 6 or 7 on the ground, end over end.
Damn.
And they think I went out the back glass. They don't know, really. And people come from the same party found me laying on the ground. I was gargling on my own blood because my lungs were collapsed. I broke 8 ribs, broke my sternum, collapsed lungs. I had severe head trauma. I don't remember that whole day. So I remember like bits and pieces of that week. So I wake up, and the people who come from that same party knew I was too bad, and one of them took off on foot, Rick. He took off on foot to call the EMS to the nearest house, and it was like 3 in the morning. I was supposed to be staying at my brother's house, and and I was out of the party. And the girls in that car was like, look, he's too bad. We can't just take him and leave. And they rolled me over so I wouldn't drown in my own blood because I was drowning on it. I couldn't breathe. And EMS came and got me. I flatlined 5 times in the EMS.
Ooh, Jesus. Because both lungs collapsed.
Yes.
Damn.
But my heart stopped.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I don't know what they did to revive me, but brought me back. I spent 2 weeks in the ICU at Grant. And then I did 2 weeks of, I was 17 at the time, and I did 2 weeks of back to school at Children's. So I was like the oldest person there. Maybe I was 16. Yeah, I was 16. Sorry. I get a little confused on that.
Damn, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
What about the driver?
He was all right.
That's crazy. Dude, I was in
he left with somebody, so.
Damn.
He only got like a failure to control.
Damn.
Wow.
And he was drinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going 76 in a 30, it's probably...
Yeah, come from a party, yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
And then just residual effects from that through my whole teenage years and into my college years. It's just when you have a brain injury like that, they say it takes 10 years, and it took every bit of 10 years. I'm still not normal. Like my memory still suffers from that. So the drugs didn't help.
Yeah.
But at the time, I thought it's what I needed.
Did they put you on anything?
No, my mom wouldn't let them. But then when I turned 18, I started going to doctors and getting stuff myself.
Gotcha.
Like any good seeker does. And Oxycontins was real big. I didn't get them, but I would get methadone, and then I would trade it for the Oxycontins.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Because they would willingly prescribe that, and then I would get roxicodone for breakthrough. And then I was with this girl, and she didn't make me do them, but her big thing was Xanax, and then I started taking a bunch of Xanax, and I just didn't care about anything.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was sleep all day and not do anything.
Yep.
So probably about 20 milligram a day, which is a lot. I'd do like 4 sets of 5. Which is insane.
Especially when you're that young and recovering from...
Well, I was probably 21 at that time. I jump around a lot, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I mean, that's still a shit ton. How long did that go on for? Okay, so you get in this car accident in high school, and then you're like recovering and stuff. Where do we go after high school?
Oh, well, let's stay in that moment.
Okay.
So after my car wreck, I didn't feel like myself all day. Like, my body hurt. I didn't feel like myself. My mom wouldn't let me give me anything. My shoulder hurt. I was always in pain. I lost 30 pounds in 2 weeks from where I was in the ICU. I was on drug-induced fentanyl-induced coma.
Yeah.
So, people hear fentanyl, but fentanyl is used all the time in the medical field.
Right.
So, it's really a life-saving drug because it can put people in comas and stuff like that. So, they had me on that. When I woke up, I was on morphine drip, and I hear some guy scream. I'm in the step-down unit at Grant, and it's raining outside, and I hear this guy yelling because he's brain dead. I guess he got his head smashed in with a brick or something. And I can't see him, but I heard him yelling. I looked down, and I got a scar on my stomach and a tube in my dick. And I had no idea what a catheter was, and I had no idea how I got a 13-inch scar on my stomach. And I look over on morphine, and I'm like, my first thought is, nurse, I'm in pain. And she brought me a blue Percocet, and I looked for somewhere to put it. I'm like, shit, I ain't got anywhere to put this thing for later. So I just chewed it up. Crazy.
True to form.
Right, absolutely.
That is insane. That was my first thought.
Yeah.
Besides the tube my dick thing, that was really my first thought. I'm like, what is this? No idea.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to bag in my ass either. Wait till they turn me over to find out. Wait till they turn me over and realize that thing's glued in there. It pulls everything with it. They're like, all right, turn over. And I'm like, rip it. Oh, that hurt.
Oh my God.
Things you find out.
The hard way.
Yeah. The
Yes.
hard way.
Damn.
So, yeah, and then like where I had that head trauma and stuff, I would walk into things on my left a lot when I was like in the rehabilitation port of the children's, like, and they'd send me down Livingston Avenue wearing like white pantyhose and stuff that were like for like blood clots, but they had to make sure my motor skills all worked and stuff because of the head trauma, and just a lot of recovery from the head injury. And like I tell people about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've had a back concussion." I'm like, I don't think you understand what it.
Yeah,
That's
not
a
like that.
big fucking difference between
Yeah.
a concussion and like a medically induced
Yeah, I've had a
coma.
bunch of concussions, but the TBI is totally different.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a game changer. They said it's like a reset in a computer, and you got to take 10 years to be reset.
Damn.
So, yeah, that impacted my life a lot.
The Mental Defectives podcast is brought to you by Milligram's new EP, More Is Always Better. 6 electrifying tracks available on all streaming platforms.
That whole car wreck did. And then, get this. So, I don't, even through all recovery, through recovery stuff, I didn't really have using dreams. But after that car wreck, I would have dreams about smoking weed. So, I would have dreams about smoking weed, and then it got me, not that it got me to do it, but I was in fear of where my lungs collapsed, that all that scar tissue in there, if I smoked cigarettes or if I smoked weed, that my lungs I would develop lung cancer or something like that.
Makes sense.
So being the good addict I was, and I just planned out for weeks. I had to go to the library and look up how to make brownies.
Pop brownies.
I know where you're going.
I knew where he was going. Yeah.
So I bought an eighth of weed, and I don't even have a fucking grinder. I take a spoon and put it to a piece of metal, and I'm just grind this weed up with a spoon every night before bed. I'm just grinding up a little nugget every once in a while.
Good.
And it's just commercial weed. It wasn't like anything spectacular. It was
Right.
from the local drug dealer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't anything great, you know, but I get it all ground up, and I go to this one kid's house who parents aren't usually there, and I'm like, hey, let's make some weed brownies. So I make them, and I'm like, holy shit, these things don't come out the way they make them sound like they're going to come out. So I put them all, I gave him like 2 of them, and I put them all on a ball, and I ended up eating the rest of them.
As we do.
So I gave him 2 of them, and I ate the rest of them. I'm like, I don't even feel anything. I went home, and I was laying in bed, and I'm like, ooh. That's the only time I've ever ate weed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Had THC, because, you know, when the vapes and the THC gummies and stuff were around, I wasn't using.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so I've been sober for so long that wasn't a thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? You could only smoke it. That was it. Or make ganja brownies like I did. I mean,
Right.
I went to the library to look up how to make them because cell phones weren't a thing.
Fantastic.
That's how long ago it was. I'm going to write down a recipe. Well, you boil the butter and you put the weed in. You let it boil for 3 minutes. Has to be 3 minutes. If you go too long, it's going to cook it out of it.
Yeah.
So you boil for 3 minutes. You put it in there. I think it was 3 minutes. My memory ain't that good, but
But the ingenuity
Yes.
of like a teenager, like
that's what I was dreaming about, was smoking weed just to get out of myself, just so I wouldn't have to think about my problems.
Yep.
Well.
Yep.
And that's insane. It really is insane if you think about it. I mean, I would dream about smoking weed. Like I dreamed one night that people were smoking beside my bed and nobody smoked in my house, and they're like, "Here, here's this," and guess what? The next day I was smoking weed. That's the progression.
yeah.
I didn't give a fuck.
Right.
I was like, you know what? I done 8 brownies. I can smoke weed. And a couple weeks later, I did Oxycontin in the bathroom at school. Somebody's like, oh, you used to do them before and all this, blah, 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 and now you won't do them. Just try it. And I was like, all right. Tried it. Went back to English class. I remember we was in Miss Hall's English class, and I kept standing up out of my chair. I would stand up. She was like, Joe, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I feel great. My body didn't hurt. Yeah. You know, like you see some people, they take oxys or whatever, and they're like, oh,
yeah.
Not me. Every time I took them, I was wide awake, and I felt alive.
Yeah.
And when I had that feeling, I chased it. Mm-hmm. But I'm like addictive. I'm like, I do one, I don't want another one. Back when I would do oxys, before that, they were like $15, $20. When I got on my car wreck, they had jumped to $35.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So they had taken over. But back when that same guy that sold us that gave us the beer, us young kids, he's the one that had Oxy 40s. And me and this other kid would go to him and get some of them, because I don't think he would sell to me. Mm-hmm. But we would go there and get some of them, or get one of them. He'd be like, hey, man, it's like doing 8 Percocets at once. And I'm like, it's not that addicting. I do one, and I don't want one the rest of the day. But I was thinking like cocaine. You do cocaine, you want some instantly.
Right.
Yeah.
With oxys, you do one, you're good the rest of the night, especially if you're drinking.
Right.
I'm not addicted.
Right.
But I didn't think about the next day.
The next day.
And the next day. Mm-hmm. And after it wears off, I didn't think about half-lives. I don't know anything about that.
Right.
So where does that take you now that you're like getting into oxys and stuff?
I managed it for a while. You know, I started going to doctors and stuff because I end up getting out of school and I graduate and everything. And, you know, life's going all right. I mean, it don't really have a hold of me that bad. You know what I mean? It has a hold of me, but it's not like I'm spending all my, I'm able to keep some money and stuff. I'm not looking all day, every day, but then it turns into that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It turns into that. And I start going to doctors and I found that one doctor that prescribed me 4 wafers and 5 15s every month. And that's a lot. Mm-hmm. And I could take and get rid of most of the methadone, trade it for Xanax and oxys, and to people that go to methadone clinics because that's all they take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's what I found. I found a couple people that would do that, and then, hey, you know, I always had some, and I'd sell it if I needed to. Mm-hmm. But it kept me from being sick.
Yeah.
Right.
So I didn't have to rob and steal like a lot of people did because I always had that methadone to fall back on.
Yep.
Not realizing how addictive it was. So, it took me there. And, you know, alcohol is the gateway to everything, in my thoughts. Alcohol led me to everything. I never once smoked weed and said, hey, let's go do some cocaine. It was always alcohol, let's find some cocaine. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then let's find something to sell. Because I need more. Mm-hmm. And then you don't get shit for it. Except regret.
Yeah, right.
I ain't got a lot of regret. I shouldn't have sold all them DVDs for $1 a piece.
Yeah, right.
Who would have thought that DVDs aren't going to be worth shit nowadays?
Oh
my God,
DVDs. Dude, I used to have
DVDs,
so many.
Yeah.
I remember just watching movies over and over, just getting drunk and high and watching Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, or watching Caddyshack, or, you know what I mean, just Super Troopers. Just so many classics I've watched a million times.
Yep.
And now there is so much content.
Oh, there's so much stuff.
You can watch a new show all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kids don't know what it's like to watch a movie over and over till you memorize the lines. I mean, a lot of things I reflect on, you know, where I'm getting older. Back in my day, you used to have to watch a movie a million times.
Yeah.
And then you and your friends would just joke about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Quote it.
The one-liners.
The meme that's like back in the day, we just had to like quote Chappelle Show to each other like before we had memes.
Yeah.
So many times.
Right.
And it still holds up too.
Yeah. Facts. Okay, so then what's that time frame like? Like you graduate high school, but then you're like super getting into pills and stuff. Like where do we like early 20s and stuff?
I started going to Hawken College.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to get a 2-year degree. I went there for 6 years. I didn't get anything.
I took 7 on a bachelor's. It's fine. On and off. It was on and off. It wasn't all
So out of that car wreck, I got the policy limit from my insurance. His insurance went to my insurance because my hospital bill is I forget the exact number. I think 158 grand.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it was that much. His went towards that, and mine went to me, and it was $250,000. So my lawyer took $100,000, And I got 150,000. My mom said, well, the only way you can get this money is if you sign it over to me.
Smart lady.
Yes, very smart lady.
That probably.
So we put it in a trust and signed it over to me, and she could write a check whenever I need it.
Yeah.
But that just meant I had to find ways to scam her out of the money.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would be like, well, Mom, I signed up for all these classes. I need a check for this. And I signed up for all these classes, then I would drop like half of them.
Right.
And then I'd get a check later on for it. And there's little things I would do like that. Well, Mom, I got this coming up, so I need these books, I need this, and then I would just take it back and get money for it.
Yep.
So there's all these little scams that I did for my mom, and I feel so bad. My mom's such a good person. And it's just I put her through a bunch. So, yeah, and I was going, and the only time I would go to class is if I was high. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go there feeling like shit. It was in Nelsonville. I'd have to drive like 15 minutes to go over there, unless I was high, pilled up. You know what I mean? Ready to go.
Yeah.
Feeling good. I wouldn't get a set in class.
Right.
Because I felt uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And at that time, it's a rat race. I'm in a small town. It's not like Columbus where you can go to one drug dealer and go to another. If it's dry, there's nothing in town. So you can't find anything.
Sure.
So people would look all day long up into the evening until they found something. Somebody would finally get a break in a prescription or something. And then everybody would be at that house. It was insane. People would think, oh, well, this person's getting it tomorrow, but it's not going to be today. And people would think, oh, I feel like shit. He's over here puking because he's dope sick, blah, blah, blah. And it always happened once a month. Yeah. It'd always be like that. And I don't know how the city was, but that's how it was in small town USA. So I always had that methadone to fall back on, though.
Yep.
That's so shitty. Not always, but most of the time I had to fall back on. So I went there to the Hawken College, and crazy time is I mixed too many drugs. I took some methadone, some oxycodone. I forget one of the main ingredients in this was. I think it was tramadol.
Oh yeah.
Tramadol. I think I took like 8 of them, and I guess it's not a very big narcotic, but it can cause seizures.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when you add it into that other stuff.
And I added into that other stuff, and I might have had some other stuff on Xanax or something on top of it. I'm sitting in my, I want to say it was Secrets to Success or something class, some bullshit credit hour class, and there's a few Jamaicans in there, and there's like this older 50-year-old Jamaican guy sitting, real nice, quiet guy, sitting beside me. I seizured into his lap.
Oh, shit.
Damn.
Can you imagine being that guy from a different country and somebody just starts seizuring on you in a class? I wake up 45 minutes later and the teacher's wiping my head off, saying, "You okay? You just seizured. We called the EMS and they came and got me." And they're like, "You're lucky you didn't piss your pants, because most people piss their pants." I'm like, "Oh, I don't got to piss because when I was on pills I couldn't piss."
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's one of the crazy times that happened in school.
Damn.
I've taken tramadol before, and I've never seized out, but like I get real bad shakes. Like I couldn't handle tramadol.
Huh.
Yeah.
I must have just never taken enough of it then.
Yeah.
Tramadils.
I've been prescribed it in sobriety. I've been prescribed it, but I just take one.
Well, it's different when you take
Take it how you're supposed to.
You take it normally. It's like, that's actually what they gave me for my Achilles, and it would help me sleep.
Yeah.
It'll just take it normally. And I've been given some medications in sobriety, and one of the things, I've had 2 hernia surgeries, and one of the times they gave me Valium, and I told the doctor, I said, I can't have anything because I don't take it right. I said, don't prescribe me any narcotics. And I'm like, and they're like, here you go, and they hand me a prescription. They hand me Valium, and they hand me a different name for Vicodin. I forget the different name for it. I'm like, these are Vicodin. I'm like, you can't give me these. So I just gave it back to him. But I tried to give him the Valium back. He's like, no, you need to keep these, because these are going to help your stomach relax. When you can't sleep in the morning, that mesh is going to be hurting you, and this is going to help you sleep. And sure enough, he was not wrong. And I had a girlfriend at the time, and I gave them to her. I said, look, if I just need one of these, you just give me one of them and go to work or something, take them with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think about taking them, but still, it's just that peace of mind that, hey, she has them. I don't need them.
Yeah, just that precaution. It's funny. It's like I never had a doctor like try and push pills on me until I got sober. Like I broke one of my thumbs in early sobriety.
Yeah.
And we went to the, they x-rayed it and they stitched me up and everything. And, they shoot you so much full of like lidocaine to numb it before they stitch it. And then the guy, the ER doctor was like, oh, here's your script. And I was like, this is like 90 Percocet. Like, I don't fucking need this. I feel fine. My thumb doesn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
He's like, kid, I shot you up with so much fucking lidocaine you can't bend your thumb. Like, when that wears off, you are going to be in a world of fucking hurt. And I did the same thing. I was living with my folks at the time, just gave it to my mom, here you go, and she administers, and it's crazy how they work as prescribed when you take them
like
as it
you're
says in the
supposed
bottle,
to.
you're not snorting them,
Yeah.
fucking mixing them with alcohol. Like,
Yeah.
okay, and then what's the rest of college like?
I mean, eventually I quit going, and I guess I really haven't thought about that much. I stopped going, and then I just become pretty much a loser, just living off. And then eventually that leads to me when I get so for the next couple of years I'm off. I stopped working. Like at that time I delivered pizzas.
Same.
So pizza delivery is nice because I could have money every night. I could buy drugs when I wanted, take money out of the bag. And then at the end of the night, the boss would be like, hey, you're under about $20 in your bag. And I'd be like, really? How did that happen? Somebody must have shorted me or I lost the money.
Yeah.
Look around on the floor. You sure I didn't drop something in here?
Let me check under my car seat
Right,
the third time.
right,
And
yeah.
then the third time you'll be there.
So that happened probably every week, once a week. That happened to me where I'd be like, oh, well, yeah. But that gave me a way to get drugs every day. If I worked,
Yep.
I was getting that bag of money. And once I had enough money in there, I could go spend $40 out of it, feel good for the day. I'd smoke weed on the job.
Yep.
I'd go to some drug dealer's house. And I'd be like, hey, you want your discount tonight? And I mean, they weren't really cool with me, but they always knew what that meant. And they'd give me a joint for $5 off. That's shitty, but
Hey,
Something.
it's something, right?
living life.
Yeah.
It's wild.
So you're doing the pizza delivery, and still drinking throughout this time.
Yeah, when the pills took over, not as much. When the Xanax took over, not as much. And then I was with that girl, and I didn't really party as much. Mm-hmm. So that probably, I don't know, drinking led to me to a lot of arrests. And pretty much if I got pulled over by the cops in my town, I was getting searched. Guaranteed search. Because they seen me in the houses where they knew stuff was.
They know what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, so everybody in the town knew. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, they don't know. Everybody knows. Everybody knew.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You think nobody knows? Everybody knows. You're not fooling anybody.
No.
So did you get pulled over a lot?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Okay.
Quite a bit. You hear about, oh, well, these people were being pulled over and stuff and being searched automatic. That was me. Automatic search every time I got pulled over.
Yeah.
I'm always like, oh, they're radioing somebody and they're asking. I'm getting searched. And then 2010, January 2010, I get my ex, when she wouldn't have Xanax, she would seizure. So she would have to go to urgent cares or hospitals and stuff. And she went to the hospital in Athens, because that's the big city by Gloucester is Athens. So she's in the hospital, and I end up having to leave. And I'm like, well, I'll stop at Court Street on my way home and get a beer or something. So I go there, and I know one of the bartenders, and I don't really know him, but I know him well enough to give me free beer. And they give me a few free drinks, and I drink them, and I'm like, well, I'll just take the back roads home. So I start driving. I come to this wind the road. I'm like, well, I can go this way, and it's going to take 20, 30 minutes, but I have to hit a highway. Or I can go this way, and it's going to be an hour and a half on the way home, but I won't see anybody. Guess which way I took? I took the main road.
Yep.
Or the one that kind of one of the main roads.
Right.
And when I hit the highway, as soon as I hit the highway, I passed a stadium that had somebody pulled over. I'm like, thank God they got them pulled over. As soon as I get by them, lady hops in her car and runs and gets behind me and pulls me over.
Oh shit!
And I'm like, fuck. And it was a Friday night. And when you get pulled over on a Friday night, you have to do the weekend in jail. It's the only time I've ever been to jail. Like, you know, I've seen some of your other shows, people go to prison and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't get in much trouble. You know what I mean? I just like to drink, like to do little drugs. And so I get pulled over. I have to go to jail. I went to Southeast Ohio Regional and just dope sick. Really sick. Really missing my drugs. I knew I had some in my truck that they didn't find because I had a little secret compartment. And I called my mom. I'm like, hey, Mom, I got pulled over. I'm in jail. Can you come bomb me out? She's like, well, no, you should probably sit there. And I kind of understood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I kind of understood where she's coming from. I wasn't, like, mad at her.
Yeah.
How can you be mad at somebody when you're who you are?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just who I was, and I needed that. So that was mid-January. I don't know the exact date, but that was mid-January. And after that following month just really leaned on me as to all my problems I was having. And, you know, there's a couple of days when I didn't have my drugs, and I'd ran out of money from that. It took me 9 years to drain that bank account because I called my mom out of the money and stuff. So it took a while. I got a new truck and a few different things, and it took a little while, but I got rid of that money. And it was February 22nd. I called my mom and said, they had always asked me, when you're ready to go to rehab, we'll take you. And I called her on February 22nd, and she took me to her house, and I couldn't get in till like the 24th, but I wasn't using up until that point. So that was my sobriety date, February 22nd, 2010.
Had you been to treatment or detox or anything prior to that?
I had went to a detox, but I was using during that detox. So this is my first real shot at trying to get sober.
Yeah.
And it was a Marietta detox. It was just a medical place, and I remember it very well. I remember it was I remember people would come in and they would talk about meeting stuff, and they would read from like the list and stuff, and I'm like, what are these people babbling about?
Right.
Preamble and all this. what the hell are they talking about in this meeting? You want me to read? I'm not reading. I'm here to get clean and sober. What are you guys babbling about? Steps. What? That's not me.
Yeah.
I can drink. I'm dead serious. I can drink.
Yeah.
You guys might have a problem with drinking. Oxycontin's my problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fuck you guys. Got a drinking problem. You guys are different than me. We're not the same.
What led you to make that call to your mom to say, like, this is...
I was in a really depressive state, and I was out of drugs, out of money, had no way to get anything. I was living in a shitty house with that girl. It was a HUD house, and, you know, both of our lives were shitty, and I was going back and forth between the mirror and bedroom, just crying, looking at myself, saying, what am I doing with my life? Not believing, and then I had a moment of clarity. I was sitting out in the living room, and Richard Simmons' Sweating to the 80s comes on. I shit you not, and I think, what am I doing with my life? I need to get sober.
I love that.
Fast forward 10 years later, I find out that he was in recovery.
Hell
no
yeah.
shit.
Is that not crazy?
That's cool as
Bro,
fuck.
shout out Richard Simmons,
Yeah,
bro.
no
Hell
shit.
yeah. R.I.P.
Sweating to the 80s.
Sweating to
I
the
remember
80s.
the exact thing he was doing. I'm like, this guy is happy.
Yeah.
And I don't mean gay. He's happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He might have been gay, but he was really happy too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I'm sitting here on this couch. I can't get it together right now. I'm shaking uncontrollably.
Yep.
And this guy's wearing short shorts with a white man afro.
I remember the neon everything in that thing. And he's just, come on guys, let's go. Let's make it happen. I'm just like, what am I doing with my life?
Right.
I'm sitting here shaking
Yeah.
and can't get off of this couch. And at that point, I realized I need to call my mom and get my shit together.
Yep.
What was that like hitting detox and treatment?
I went to, so my mom called the family doctor and they couldn't find anywhere, and they found Parkside up here in Columbus, and it was the longest car ride of my life.
No doubt.
Yeah, that really
No
is.
doubt.
So the bypasses weren't in
Yep.
yet, so it was already a long ride from Gloucester up here. It was like 2 hours because the Lancaster bypass and Nelsonville bypass wasn't in yet. So it took a long time. So you got to go through all the small towns.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just remember my niece sitting in the back seat with me saying, Uncle Joe, it's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. It's going to be okay. And she kept holding my hand saying that, and I remember that very distinctly. But I just remember that it was such a long ride. And then I get up there, I'm like, oh, thank God they're going to give me something so I feel better. And
Not
like,
yet.
"Well, not yet. It takes a long time before they give you anything. And then guess what? It still don't help. And then it's, I mean, for what I was on methadone and Xanax,
Yeah.
so it really didn't help me. Like a lot of people are like, I'm high off this shit they gave me. Not me, because I was on a different level of drugs.
Yeah.
Not saying I wasn't on heroin or anything, but I mean, it was a hard level of drugs, the methadone, because it gets in your bones. And I heard like stays with you like 6 months after.
Ugh.
I've heard that too, that like prolonged like methadone or even
Yeah.
like Suboxone use, like we've had people come on the show tell us that like they've experienced like, you know, done like stints in jail or treatment or whatever, and they said like after being on Suboxone or methadone for like months or years at a time, like that withdrawal was longer than if they were doing like a shit ton of heroin every day for a shorter amount of time. It's I don't know what the deal with that is, but yeah.
Interesting.
The Minnesota Defectives podcast is brought to you by Ride Sober, an online community for sober bikers.
At RideXSober on social media and RideXSober.com.
Check them out today for apparel like t-shirts, hoodies, hats, riding gloves, and garage banners.
Ride sober, boldly sober.
Boldly sober. Yeah. Okay, so how long were you in treatment there?
28 days. And they kick
Stayed the
every
full 28.
Dude, they
kicked your ass in the curb.
Yes, they did.
No, listen. I seen so many people come and go because their insurance run out. I was self-pay,
Oh, okay.
so they wanted to keep me.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
no
they-
doubt.
Yeah.
But everybody else, their insurance run out. Be like, sorry, we ain't got a place for you now.
Yep.
You got to leave. 2 weeks. 2 weeks usually what people would come there for, and they would leave. And I was there for the full cycle. So my guidance counselor is Jerry Garcia. Who he looks like him. And
Yeah.
So that was you guys know. You're like,
I know that guy.
Yeah, I do.
So Jerry Garcia was my guidance counselor.
Hell yeah.
And rehab was interesting. I just remember every night me and a couple people, this girl and this guy would go in the back room. We'd just listen to music because music sounded different. Because you had those feelings again.
Yeah.
And the feelings just really sunk in. We just sat there and listened to like the guitar solos and stuff, and it just sounded different than when you're medicating yourself. And I would talk to them, and they were going to sober living and stuff, and I'm like, oh, well, that's good for you. And then one day Jerry calls me into his office, and he's like, so you ever thought about sober living? I'm like, halfway house? Hell no. I'm like, my mom will help get me an apartment, and you know, hopefully she helps get me an apartment. And then he's like, well, I talked to them, and they don't think it's a good idea for you to come back home. So this is really your only option you have to go to sober living. And then I went to sober living, and that's pretty much what rooted my recovery. If I wouldn't have went to that step after the rehab, I would have went back out using. Like if I'd have went back to my hometown, because drinking would have been the next step.
Yeah.
And then from drinking, it would have been right back to what I was doing.
No doubt.
But everybody in that sober living program had it to where we don't want to drink. We can do all these fun things without drinking. And that's what helped plant me in, hey, go to meetings. There's always somebody going to a meeting. We'd go to meetings, and that really helped me realize that there's another way to live besides using and stuff. I mean, and having fun while doing stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where I met you for the first time, was at a sober camping. I can't remember who you came with. I'd never seen you before. And you pulled up, no shirt,
Hell yeah.
blonde mullet wig, like shoulder length. What are those fucking sunglasses called? The Pit Viper sunglasses.
Pit Vipers. Yeah.
That was me?
Oh yeah.
I didn't have a shirt on?
Yeah!
Damn.
I mean, it's like the summertime, it's sober camping, but
Yeah.
it's just like, who the fuck is this guy? And he's like
Right.
running around, it's like, Joe Bob McGill, it's nice to meet you, bud. He's like, the fuck just happened? It's like a tornado coming through, but just like
that energy.
fun energy
Yeah.
of like early sobriety.
Oh yeah, I miss my mullet. Sometimes you gotta flip it back.
Yeah.
Then flip after the double flip when you really like things. So Joe Bob McGillis, let me tell you a little bit about Joe Bob
Yeah,
McGillis.
please,
Yes.
please.
He was a character I created to go to a Halloween party.
Okay.
In 2011, October 31st-ish, 2011, I decided to get a mullet. And what gave me the idea for that, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Rob Dyrdek.
Rob Dyrdek?
Dyrdek?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, you heard him? He had a character he called Bobby Light.
Bobby Light.
Yeah.
That was the
From Robin
inspiration.
Big.
Okay.
From
Yes.
Robin
yeah,
Big.
Robin Big.
You remember
yeah.
Bobby Light?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So if you subscribe to this channel, look up Bobby Light. But yeah, and I was like, that's such a good idea for a Halloween costume.
Yeah.
So I found a mullet, and this mullet, what really sets it off is you got to have the bandana.
That's the other
fuck
thing
yeah.
the bandana.
Fuck
So you
yeah.
got to have the bandana because
Yeah.
then it seals that right there.
Right.
And then the mullet I had nice little sideburns on it, so it looked pretty legit. I went to Country Jam wearing it one time, and everybody would come up to me. It's like, is that a mullet? They'd be like, is that mullet real? I said, are them tits real? Let me see them. My buddies were cracking up the whole time. That was my line every time they'd say that. They'd say, is that mullet real? I said, are them tits real? Let me see them.
That's fucking great.
So Joe Bob came about. I was living in a sober house, and I had been in that program. The director was crazy, which you kind of had to be crazy to run 100 different people.
No doubt.
And he had 20 different houses, and I had lived in like 3 or 4 of them. And this house he had set up for people to live that he trusted and put it in Whitehall. He said, hey, I trust you guys. You go over there and live. I ain't got to check on you guys all the time. Puts over there. And me and this dude was sitting there, my good friend. I'm still good friends with him. And he's like, you going with a mullet? And this dude's super cool. He's like, you going with a mullet? Wearing it for Halloween? He's like, you need to stuff your pants. It's the oldest trick in the book. Tube sock in the pants. I'm like, that's a good idea. So I grabbed a tube sock and I put it in my pants, and it is the biggest bulge you ever see. I look like I'm pregnant almost with my dick. So I'm like, I can't do that. So I took a footy and I rolled it up real tight and put it in there, and it looks like a little line down my leg. So I go to that party and I kept walking up to, because this is a drinking party, you know, I'm there, I'm sober, and you know, the people that I'm there with know that I'm sober. They might be drinking, but they know I'm sober.
Yeah.
And so I feel comfortable enough to go there. I over a year sobriety, and I go to the beer pong table and I just keep resting my sock or junk, whatever you want to call it, on the table. And when I step back, I am not shitting you, I had a couple girls just walk up and rub it as they walked by me. It is the craziest thing I've ever felt. I guess felt and feel and felt, same thing, right? So it just bizarre. But that's how wild it can get in sobriety.
Yeah.
And if I was drinking, I probably wouldn't have came up with that nonsense.
Oh, no.
No, for sure.
Or you talk about something like that. You're like, oh, this would be so funny. And it never
happens.
It out of the group chat. It never turns into a real thing because, oh, then we got drunk or then we got high and then we just forgot about it.
Where you actually follow through when you're sober.
Yeah.
Crazy
Funny
like
how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Joe Bob has came out quite a few times. Actually, my buddy had an IROC Camaro and he let me drive it wearing it.
Oh, that's so cool.
I would pull up to the gas station, I'd put it in neutral, just rev it up and look at people. I had people going, hell yeah. And I was like, hell yeah, and I'd flip my mullet hair back. So it was pretty intense.
Love it.
And I think at that time I'd been working at Home Depot, so this other guy had always talked about having a mullet, so that kind of aided into me wanting to have a mullet, because he'd always be like, hell yeah, and he'd act like you have a mullet on and flip it back.
Hell yeah.
I don't know, just hell yeah goes along with the mullet really well.
It does.
Oh, yeah.
And that was before mullets were a thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah, they came back.
That's the important thing.
Yeah.
This is like a trend-setting era of mullets.
This is 2011.
Yeah.
I had a mullet in 2019, 2020 when they came back around, like a real one I grew. Mm-hmm. But back then it was like nobody wears a mullet.
Yeah.
Nobody has a mullet wig on going
Right.
going to Country Jam concert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's like
it
you
was
and Joe
crazy.
Dirt at the time, and that's it.
Yeah, people would say, "Oh, you're Joe Dirt." I'm like, "No, I'm not Joe Dirt. I'm Joe Bob McGillis. I worked down at the Bob Boyd car dealership. Chance of an 80-mile car. I worked on it. Hell yeah. You need new white wall tires? Come on down. I'll set you up."
Gotta get them white wall tires.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so that's early sobriety, and then how do you get involved, like the trade schools and getting into the union and stuff? Because you've been doing that for a number of years.
Yeah. So
Oh, I'm sorry. First, how long were you in that sober living?
2 years. I'd
Nice.
actually started a sheet metal union while I was in there. See,
Nice.
I worked at Home Depot for a year, and they kept telling me, "Oh, well, you know a lot of stuff." I was a cashier at the time, which is one of the lowest paying jobs there, and they kept saying, "Oh, well," they'd work me in the other departments, and I'd stay late and work with the night crew, and I would just be working there all the time. They'd work me in garden and the mulch section, and they made them as double what I did.
Oh, sure.
But they would work me as that, and they kept saying, "Oh, we're going to move you to a different department so you get paid better."
Yeah.
Never happened. Get new bosses, come and go. Never happened. And I'm like, you know what? This is bullshit. Mm-hmm. So, in one of the sober houses, I get online, and I take a test about what I might like to do with my life, a career test.
Oh, sure.
And I was at a desktop. You couldn't do that shit on your phone. Phones weren't really, you know what I mean? When somebody brought out the droid, and they'd go droid, and they'd do the maps.
yeah.
It was insane. Like, you have a map on your phone? I was used to writing down MapQuest on how to get somewhere.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Jeez, I'm so old. Like,
Bro, when
I remember that shit,
when
though.
I was in one of the treatment, like the long-term treatment, all the staff had Blackberries.
Oh,
And it was
yeah.
like, bro, you got that full keyboard.
Yeah.
The little.
I remember when they first started putting cameras on phones. That was like
What?
insane.
A camera on the
A camera on a fucking phone.
I had never heard of such a thing.
Into my using years, in my truck, I had a wind-up camera for in case I see something cool. You know what I mean? I would put, like, the streets were flooded or something. You can just go, "Oh, there's my phone."
Right.
But hey, if I seen something I liked, I just wind it up,
Wind
and
it,
take the picture. That's crazy.
I would love-
How times have changed.
I would love to flip through those photos today. I cannot even imagine what
Yeah,
could be.
they're pretty crazy. I have them.
Okay, so
so
sorry.
anyway.
So you're at the Home Depot.
I take that test online,
Yes.
and it says I might like the sheet metal union. I didn't know what that was. I had no idea. So I went and talked to the person. I went to the interview, and I got in. Got in as the first year, making more than I made at Home Depot. And I started an apprenticeship, and it was a 4-year apprenticeship. During that apprenticeship, I told my mom, when I told my mom I was in it, she's like, "Your father was in that in the 70s. In the sheet metal union. My dad died when I was 5.
Shit.
He died when I was 5. So a lot of things that happen in life to me, I feel like it's God or my dad as my angel. Because my dad died 2 days before Christmas when I was 5. So Christmas every year is kind of shitty for me.
Yeah,
yeah.
no
And
doubt.
And I didn't realize it at the time because I'm 5 years old.
Right.
But later when I'm in high school and I see all these kids with their dads or whatever, hunting, doing sports, doing stuff like that, I don't have somebody show me that. I learned everything from my brother and sister, which are a little bit older than me. My mom went back to school. My mom did really well. Went back to school, became a political person. She was a county treasurer and stuff. Did really well for herself with 3 kids at home. But that's hard to watch 3 kids when you got all that going on.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, good family though. I mean, I didn't have a bad family. It was a good family, and everybody helped out my mom. But it's hard to keep an eye on us. You know what I mean? So we kind of took advantage of the situation. My mom never encountered something like us. She didn't know about drugs. She didn't know what weed smelled like.
Right.
Like she didn't know. And I mean, it caught her by surprise when we was all into that stuff. So after that car wreck I told you about prior, that's when she found out all the stuff I was in, because everybody came out of the woodwork to tell her. Everybody's like, "Oh, well, them boys are up there smoking dope in that garage." I know they are. I've seen them.
Yeah.
Bunch
You
of
know.
snitches.
But they didn't do it up until that point. But when there was a reason to, they did.
Yeah.
So,
So you start sheet metal union, and you do 4-year apprenticeship, but they start paying you day one in those trade unions, right?
yeah, you don't have to pay for the schooling.
Yeah.
All the schooling's paid for, and it's 2 days a week for 3 months, and then 3 months of it you get 3 days a week, and they include a welding class in there. So,
Sweet.
You learn all that. It's when you're an apprentice, it's a struggle because you're working 40, usually over 40 every week, and you're in class 12 hours a week.
That's rough.
Yeah, so three hours every night. Some nights they let you out a little early. It just depends how tired they are. You know, but it's and with the sheet metal, there's a bunch of math because you got to learn how to build. So it's like duct work. There's a lot of other stuff. Anything that's 1/4 inch and below is sheet metal. So so you do some structural stuff, but not a bunch of heavy structural stuff. But you do some like dampers, which are in like the side of buildings and stuff. You'll weld that and stuff. So a lot of the stuff you learn is a lot of math, a lot of geometry, a lot of sine, tangent, and cosine. And you learn how to make triangles to make square pieces into circles. They have machines that do that now, which is kind of stupid that you have to learn how to do it. But you have to learn how to throw arcs. You have to learn how to use like fancy protractors and stuff to make all this stuff work. And it's a lot of math. It is. So yeah, I'm pretty decent at math. So I mean, it came to me pretty easy. But they pretty much pass you through it. You know what I mean? Just as long as you can kind of get a grasp on it, you're going to get through that schooling. I'm working for a company, and I worked out at the OSU Medical Center, and I was helped build the New James project, and I was on that when they dropped the units into the building, and they put on these little hoverboards, and then they slide these big 3-story units into place. They drop them in with the crane, slide them in place. I was part of all that, and then I worked there for a couple more years up through the tower, putting all the sheet metal work in, and then I ended up getting laid off from the company I was at. So when I was working at that place, I talked to the elevator guys, and I got a couple of numbers from them for their business agent to talk to them about getting into that trade. So once I got laid off from that company, I started calling them every day to get into the elevator trade. And that is my current thing that I do. I'm an elevator mechanic. But that's another 5-year trade school that I went to. That education's a lot harder. A lot more reading. A lot more about electrical, a lot about hydraulics. It's just a really intense subject, and they want you to know your shit. And there's just so much that can go wrong, so much safety talk.
Oh, sure.
People are scared to death of elevators.
Yes.
So if you're working on one in a building that's functional, everybody's like, oh, I've never seen inside an elevator pit before. I'm like, well, you're not going to see today. Just close your door. Because it's too dangerous.
Right.
Yeah.
So they don't realize that those are $1 million pieces of equipment that can kill you very easily, and they are not forgiving. They don't have feelings. They don't know when something.
This machine
when your arm or leg is in the thing and it switches floors. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know.
Yeah.
Damn.
So
have you ever seen something like that?
What are some common things that like malfunction on
doors?
Doors. Yeah.
Somebody drops something in the sill. So with elevators, 80 to 90% of the calls. If somebody calls it in, it's because the doors aren't working right. And the elevator shut down because of the doors.
Because they won't close or they won't open.
Yeah. Somebody hit. When you work at a hospital or something, people hit the doors.
Sure.
And then they're like, oh, I don't know why it don't work. Well, probably because you ran into it with a floor jack. With a motorized floor jack. I mean, that's going to cause some damage to stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
if I press the door close button, does that make the doors actually close faster, or is that just there to like placate me?
No, it's not going to help. That's more for our service.
God damn it. Hey, Mental Defectives.
Would you like to advertise on our podcast?
If so, email us at mentaldefectivespodcast@gmail.com.
So we can help you make a lot of money.
A whole lot of money.
It's all a fugazi. That's a solid question.
That's...
Does it work when you push it?
Yeah. Like when I get in the elevator and I press...
It's not going to be automatic.
Yeah.
But does that button actually do something?
When we key it, it closes. When we put it on what's called independent, it closes for us by pushing that button. So... But
me as a common folk... When I get in an elevator in like a hospital...
It's going to wait until it's called happy, when it's happy with everything, because people are always worried about, the elevator moved 3 feet. It really moved 3 inches.
Yeah.
Because people are so scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of safety features that people don't realize that are going on. Mm-hmm. I go on it for days, though.
Sure. Like you get in it and it knows how much weight's in it or
it has,
shit like that.
To calculate
it has
that to lift
sensors.
it,
Yeah.
For the weight distribution stuff.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And then, so what's life like today for you in sobriety? I know you got 2 kids, doing the mountain biking, elevator union.
Yeah. So right now I'm off work because I had an operation on my Achilles from mountain biking, and I haven't been on mountain bike last year because of that. Because I like to take stuff to the extreme. I'm an extremist. So I was doing downhill mountain biking and hurt my Achilles, and I never got it fixed, and I never took time off work, and I never took time off, and it just created a lot of scar tissue that I need to get repaired.
Yeah.
In sobriety, I met a girl, and we got married and had 2 boys. So I'm boy dad, and we always do fun stuff. I take them to Home Depot. We go to Lowe's, do like little kids workshops that are free. It's an amazing
that's
time.
cool.
If you have kids, it's a great place to take them. So, I mean, because it's a free project, they can paint there. They ain't got to bring the paint home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I do it, and it teaches them something. Really, Dad just builds 2 projects, and I let them paint.
Yeah.
That's what it turns into. My older son, I let hammer the nails in. Mm-hmm. Or tell him where to do it. My youngest, I got to do everything. And I got to yell at him, don't do that, stop, get off of that. So I look like an asshole to a lot of the other parents there. My 3-year-old's wild, so.
I don't know if I trust a 3-year-old with a hammer and nails. It's probably a good idea.
I mean, he focuses when it's important. When it's important time, he focuses. But
yeah.
Up to that point, he wants to push the limit. Mm-hmm. So.
And then when can we expect the next emergence of Joe Bob McGillis in his final form?
when I find him again. He's in a box somewhere. I tried to find him before I came here tonight, and it was just I ran out of time, and I knew I was running out of time, and it even made me late. I couldn't find it. Sorry, but yeah, we can do another episode with him.
That would be fantastic.
Yes, that would be amazing. Joe, what advice do you have for someone that would be looking to get into the trades, like sheet metal, elevator, whatever kind of trade it might be?
Well, first you got to have some knowledge of stuff. They're not just going to take anybody, even though they might say they're going to. They're going to test you to see if you know your basic tools, know stuff like that. And if you're going to get into a trade, you're going to have to be willing to work. Put in the work. And with the trade, you're going to have to be educated. So you're going to have to do schooling too. That's the part that gets people is they don't have to go to work all day and then have to go to school at night. But the good thing about the trades is you don't have to pay for the schooling.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
So I have benefits. I make a good wage, and I don't have to pay for the college I went to or I dropped out of. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that's a benefit of that. 'Cause you always hear people having these college debts and stuff and having it over their head. Well, you go to trades, you don't have that, and you're getting paid while you go to school. You're not getting paid to go to school, but you're getting paid while you're in school.
Right.
So
no, that makes sense. What advice would you have for somebody who's just getting sober or trying to get sober?
I would say you need to find stuff to keep your mind occupied. Find things. Like when I was living in that sober house, we would go sing karaoke at Applebee's on Wednesdays.
Hell yes, you would.
Half price appetizers.
Perfect.
we would go to Bryce Road Applebee's and we'd sing karaoke, and it was such a good time. Other people were there drinking. We was a sober party of usually 10 to 12 people, and we had a blast singing karaoke because we would just sit there and laugh at each other going up and singing.
Yeah.
They called me Kid Rock there because I got up and sang "Ball with the Ball," and it's such a hard song to sing if you ever sing it out. And I was "Ball with the ball, da bang, dee dee." Yeah. It just goes on and on.
Yeah.
I would sing. What else was one of my big hits? "Rapper's Delight" from the '80s. That's a hard song. There's a lot of different singers in that song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's like 7-minute song, but that's one of my go-tos. Cause I got this hillbilly accent, and it just sounds.
Love
right.
it. I love it.
So, you got to find stuff to have fun with. Go to the movies. Mm-hmm. Go roller skating. Go hiking. Go get out and do something. You can't just sit around and think getting sober is going to work because it's not. Or it's not going to be enjoyable. Right. You're going to be miserable. You might as well drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should tell you that or not, but
No, that's solid.
But
That's
if you're
solid,
not going
though.
to do anything, you might as well go out and drink.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people have, especially young people, have that misconception of like, oh, if I get sober, it's going to be every day is going to be like
boring.
when I'm in treatment or
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm going to sit around and like talk about like how much I miss drinking or something. And it's like, no, it's going to we would do karaoke at a pool hall in Westerville. All the time in early sobriety. Me and Justin would get up there and just freestyle and like
What
make
was your
fun
song?
of people.
What was your go-to?
Just whatever like rap songs, and we would freestyle
Ice Ice,
over
baby.
and
You look
make
like
fun
Ice
of.
Ice. You look like
make fun
Vanilla
of
Ice.
He does.
Oh yeah,
You don't like,
Ice.
you don't like Vanilla Ice?
I think he might have been a little bit before my time. You ever see
Okay.
his show?
Eminem?
You ever see his TV show?
Eminem, Slim Shady.
Oh, yeah.
You sing that?
Oh yeah.
That's a hard one.
You ever see Vanilla Ice's TV show? He like flips houses in
Ron
Florida.
Van Winkle.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I follow him on every social media there is. You ever see Ninja Turtles 2?
Oh hell yeah! Go Ninja Go.
Go
That was
Ninja
my
Go,
shit.
baby.
Oh,
my god.
Know nothing about that.
They gonna learn today.
Right.
But serious, Robin Winkle. He's a man.
That doesn't surprise me at all. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Joe, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having
This
me.
has been amazing.
Yeah.
Dude, because I hadn't seen you in years, and then I just messaged you out of nowhere or something, and I was like, you want to be on the show? You're like, hell yeah. And
I
then,
ain't got no problem with it. Now, I will say this, and you can edit this out if you want to, Chris. I don't really.
Oh, Chris is such a whore for a name drop. Oh, my God.
I don't really attend meetings like I first did. You know, in early sobriety, I think it's important that you do that 90 and 90. I think I did 87 and 90.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's so important that you do that 90-90.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I go when I need a meeting, or if I'm just feeling like, hey, I'm missing something in my life, I
Yeah.
need to go to a meeting. And that's kind of where I'm at with meetings. I don't have a sponsor. I don't sponsor. And when I go to that meeting, I don't raise my hand because I'm not going to tell people how to do the meetings and all that. When I don't really, I do the steps every day of my life. You know, if I do somebody wrong, then I admit it, and then I try to make it right. But that's just an everyday practice. Once you work the steps, you realize what you need to do. But the meetings for me is a place I need to go if I have a problem, and I'm trying to get it right. And I talked to an older guy. He said, well, it's important for you to share how you're doing now and stuff. So it's important for you to go to not speaker meetings, but to go to the discussion meetings so people know where you're at now and how it all works. So that's important. I forget where I was going with that. But, when I was in treatment, after treatment, remember I used to do that meeting at Parkside.
Yeah.
I did that for like 3 years. That was kind of my contribution to helping out a little bit. Every Thursday I was there. I'd always have people lined up for the meeting. There's a few other people that helped set it up and stuff with me, but it really took off, and a lot of people like coming to it. But Parkside's not there anymore, and and when I was running that meeting, it came under new leadership. And during that meeting, they started giving the people that stayed there a chance to go do yoga with this hot girl. So my meeting attendance fell down.
Yeah,
So there were like 3 people that came to my meetings after there was like 20 people coming that was in treatment. I'm like, nice summer day, be outside with a hot chick, doing yoga, stretches,
I think
or
that's
go to
what
a
we're-
meeting with some old alcoholics.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Not older, we were all younger that
Yeah.
kind of ran that meeting, but it was a good time. I made it fun for everybody, but it's just there's no competition there, buddy. I mean, I understand yoga's a way to help you with sobriety, but it's not going to get you sober.
Yeah.
Being around other addicts and alcoholics is going to get you sober. I think yoga is just one of them tools to help you find something to do. You know what I mean? I think a lot of things are just tools to help you. And a lot of people misplace that, and they think, oh, well, this is going to keep me sober. And yeah, it might for a while, but once you start back, you might be able to manage the drinking for a while, but eventually you're going to lead right back into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's going to be off to the races. At least for me. I mean, there's some other people that might be able to do it, but not me.
Yeah.
No, I see a lot of people fall into that trap at like the year sober mark. It seems like they like, whether it's like a job or relationship, yoga, the gym. I've seen the yoga in the gym take as many people back to drinking as like a toxic relationship or like any car accident, whatever you want to call it. And it's just, you know, like you're saying, it's like for me, it's like when I put something in front of my sobriety, or I try and stay sober off of something that's not recovery based, shit just ain't gonna fly for me. You know, and like you said, like some people it fucking works, and like that's awesome. I don't understand how that works for me, so I'm not willing to try it. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
and even like me and Jerry pretty much hit one meeting a week now, and I've just like built it into my routine. Like my wife knows, like every Monday night I go to my meeting, and that's like a non-negotiable for me. And then frankly, like the podcast, once we cut these cameras off, then it turns
It's
into
basically
more of a
another meeting.
We sit around
Yeah.
talking about what we talked about on the podcast
Yeah.
in more depth. Like
Right.
it's like the meeting after the meeting, which has been super cool. And I'll find myself like at a speaker meeting thinking, from doing the podcast, I think about questions. And it kind of takes me out of it. And I'm like, fuck, I want to ask, God damn it, I'm in the meeting, I'm not in the podcast. I can't like, I want to shoot like a quick follow-up question in there. But I can't do it. It's a bitch.
Nothing worse than when they ask questions after the speaker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just want to say I relate to your story so much. It's like, holy shit! How many people are going to tell me about how much they relate to the story?
Every
Hey,
single
I
one of
drank
them.
too. I drank
Every
too.
single one of them.
No, you don't say. Bro, the worst one, my buddy asked me to speak at this Friday night meeting, just the last second. It was like, yo, this meeting starts in half an hour. My dude canceled on me. Can you come out? I said, sure. It's called the Friendship Group, way out on the east side somewhere. This is like 10 years ago. And I go up there and I speak or whatever. And then, of course, it's a comment meeting. I'm like, fuck. And you got to stand there for
Yep.
like 5 minutes and just like, oh.
You gotta stand up front.
Yeah.
Oh,
on the stage,
yeah.
like an elementary
Yeah.
school stage,
Right.
so I'm like 5 feet off the
Yep.
ground behind the
Yep.
podium.
Spotlight on you.
Yeah.
And you stand there for like what feels like an hour waiting for someone to say a question. The first person is this like super old guy way in the back, and he stands up and he's like, we don't take kindly about that drug dealing shit. You should turn yourself into the police right now. And I'm like, oh my. I'm like, thank you. Like,
Right. Okay.
And then you gotta stand there for 5 more minutes. And, dude, it was a fucking.
Yeah.
I told my buddy, I was like, never fucking ask me to speak for you again, because this shit is not happening. Like.
And then
Bruh.
I spoke at a meeting one time, and then I would usually try to end a little bit early, about 5 to 10 minutes. And this guy named Rocky comes up to me after the meeting. He's like, you know what separates a good meeting from a great meeting? He said 10 minutes. Good job.
Yep.
Bro, I know that's right. If the meeting ends at 9 and you're still up there talking at 9:01,
Bro.
like,
Hey, dude, I'm looking at my
I
watch.
know
I'm like, dude,
it's time
man,
to
are you-
fucking go.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
done yet?
yeah.
Yeah.
Come
Oh
on,
my
man.
God.
You talked about drugs for half an hour. Now you're talking about 5 to 10 minutes about what you're doing now with your life.
Sometimes less than that.
Yeah, I tried to do like Pulp Fiction, Quentin Tarantino. When I get up there, I talk about what my life's doing now, and then I jump back.
Oh, there you
know what I
go.
mean? Jump
Yeah,
around. a lot.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I had to structure, and I kind of mimicked what I seen from other people, leads that I liked.
Yeah.
I jumped around, so I did like the Quentin Tarantino form.
Hell yeah.
The machete.
Hell yes.
Oh my God. Joe Bob McGillis, the machete.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, dude, thank you for coming on. And then last thing before we get out of here, you were saying that, you're a fan of 80s movies and 90s television, but that you said you were way too mature to ever wear a shirt that would marry to such things, such like as a Beavis and Butthead with a Beetlejuice attire. But then I see you here today. If you want to show this to the camera right here in front of you, can you read what your shirt says to us, please?
Is it backwards?
It says
It says butt juice.
butt
It's
juice.
Beavis and Butthead.
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
It's the Mental Defectives podcast. It's Milligram, Jerry with a G, Joe Bob McGillis.
I bought it
rocking-
because the new Beetlejuice came out.
that was good.
Yeah, and for
I liked
real quick,
Yeah.
for some reason, I went and seen a movie theater, and every time I see a trippy scene, I think, man, if I was on acid, this would be great.
This
when
would have been
when they did
fantastic.
the wedding scene,
Oh, yeah.
I have
yeah.
like euphoric recall, and I'm like, man, I'm tripping. It is insane. Like
Yeah.
some of the stuff I seen in that scene, I was just like, man, this is wild. It was a good remake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
And because all the Beetlejuice shirts came out, I had to get a shirt that said butt juice on it, just to fool people. I wore it I wore it at Halloween.
Shit
Just
by
to
us.
fool
We're-
people.
we're-
Well, you guys are observant.
Yeah.
Most people in recovery are observant.
Yeah.
But the average person, not very observant.
Agreed.
Agreed. What's the mental defectives? Milligram, Jerry with a G, Brownie joined us today.
Yep.
If you're watching at home, you can get a load of her. Joe, thanks so much, man. We'll see y'all next time.
Appreciate it.
Peace.
Peace.